everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys I'm going to be profiling for you my favorite deck of all time, that being Gravekeepers. I've been playing Gravekeepers for over 10 years now, ever since they came out in the Pharaonic Guardian, which was, I can't believe, like over 10 years ago I've been playing this deck. But the reason why Gravekeepers are my favorite deck of all time is because I love history, and I also love ancient history. And just like Six Samurais, which are my second favorite deck of all time, Gravekeepers embody this. They're all about, protecting the pharaoh's tombs and, things of that nature. And I love the hieroglyphic backgrounds that they have, and I just love their artwork, even though it's simplistic in nature to some degree. I just love the aspect of this deck. I feel like when I'm playing with it, I'm playing in ancient Egypt, where I'm playing with the pharaohs, just like we saw in the original Yu-Gi-Oh show, when they went back to the pharaoh's memories, Tim's memories, I should mention. But yes, I just love it because I feel like I'm in ancient Egypt playing this deck. I know it sounds weird, but that's one of the reasons why I love playing it. But that aside, one of the other reasons I love this deck is because also the fact that Necro Valley is a card, and the fact that Necro Valley, and I love stun-based decks, and Necro Valley can shut down graveyard-oriented decks very, very well, is another reason I love this deck, because it can just shut down decks. And graveyard decks it can just shut down completely, pretty much, sometimes. And it's been able to do that, consistently throughout the course of Yu-Gi-Oh history, pretty much, because Necro Valley is a card. And ever since they made Necro Valley an archetype about a year ago, the deck has become a lot better, I think, and I think it really made the deck a little bit more stronger. So first off, we run 3 Gravekeeper Spy. Gravekeeper Spy is kind of like the backbone of the deck, I guess you could say, if Gravekeepers were a body of sorts. Pretty much it's the backbone. It gets your power plays going. Gravekeeper Spy is your power play of the deck. You set it, you flip it, you search a card out. Your search out Recruiter, normal summon a Descendant, pop the Recruiter to get a search off, or your special summon the Recruiter after you flip it up. Special summon the Descendant, excuse me, then normal summon the Recruiter. Once in the blue moon, you do search. You actually flip it up and you'll search out Gravekeeper's Assailant in certain situations. Back before we had Gravekeeper's Recruiter and Descendant, the main power play you would do with Spy is you would set the Spy, flip up the Spy, and then actually special out Gravekeeper's Assailant. But you don't do that as much as you used to do it anymore. But sometimes in a blue moon, you do it. So next up we run our 3 Gravekeeper's Recruiter. Gravekeeper's Recruiter is pretty much Witch of the Black Forest for this deck. Some people I've seen run just 2 Gravekeeper's Recruiter, and they say that the reason they run that is because they feel the card is very slow, it's not that fast. Well, pretty much in my opinion, Gravekeeper's Recruiter is a floater, so to speak. It can pretty much search out all your Gravekeeper freaking monsters. Except Spy. It's a floater, pretty much. And, when Necro Valley is out on the board, it's a 17 beater. And so, that's just too good not to run a 3 of, I feel like. If it dies, you get a search off. If it goes when it goes to the graveyard, you can use it for popping with Descendant to get, rid of annoying cards on field. It's a 17 beater when you're trying to run over things with flip damage. It's got a lot of upsides, and so that's why I still run it as a 3 of. Next, I run 3 Gravekeepers Commandant. I know this is a questionable thing to do. A lot of people I've seen nowadays only run 2 Gravekeepers Commandant, but I still like running 3 Gravekeepers Commandant. Mainly for the fact of the matter is sometimes I'll go through an entire duel, and this is a 40 card deck, by the way, but I'll go through an entire duel and I won't even see Necro Valley sometimes, and that's a really scary thing to say, because if, Gravekeeper's Spy is the backbone, Necro Valley is kind of like the sinew of the deck that holds it all together and brings it all together. It gives you a power boost, shuts down the other opponent's decks, and so forth and so on. So you really want to get to your Necro Valley by turn 1 or turn 2. Otherwise, it's going to become somewhat of an uphill battle. So I really like running the 3 Gravekeepers Commandant. Plus, if Necro Valley is already out in the field, you normal summon the Commandant, you attack with a 21 beat stick that can get around certain things, certain problematic cards. Heck, I used to use it a lot of the time back when Thunder King was at 3 to get around Thunder Kings and and stuff like that. Also, the fact of the matter is that, if I've still, to this day, gone through 3 Necro Valleys in a duel. on pretty, one every couple of duels, I sometimes go through Necro Valley if my opponent, really drew good, or if they sideboarded things in. And the fact of the matter is, if one Necro Valley gets destroyed, you want to easily search out for another one, and Commandant does that for you. Plus, it thins out your deck, very easily by searching another Necro Valley out, so you get into your other cards that you want to. So thinning out the deck is really nice to do as well. Apologize, I'm talking so fast. Next, we run 2 Gravekeeper's Descendant. Gravekeeper's Descendant is pretty much your problem solver. It's one of your problem solver cards, I would say. Pretty much, he's a 2000 beater. When you flip up the spy, like I said before, you'll usually bring out, after you flip up the spy, you'll bring either Gravekeeper's Descendant out or Gravekeeper's Recruiter out. Pop cards on field, pop back row, swing for a 2000. That's usually what you do with Gravekeeper's Descendant. He's very useful in that respect. Some people run 3 Gravekeeper's Descendant. I say 2 is the right amount. Then we run 1 Gravekeeper's Assailant. This is your problem solver. I will admit, for a long time, I used to run 2 Gravekeeper's Assailant. He used to be called the Shein Killer back when 6 Samurais were very popular. And he really is useful for getting around big monsters with low defense, which he's amazing at doing. He's just your problem solver. Oh, you got that big monster, put it in defense mode, run over it. So he's really, really nice to have. You can run 2 of him if you would like to take the deck in that direction, but I do find 1 is good enough. You do run 2 Rite of Spirit, so if he dies, you can easily bring him back through that, or bringing him back to your hand through Gravekeeper's Stele. So I like that, and he's easily searchable as well. Then I run some 1 of Gravekeepers. We run 1 Gravekeeper's Heretic, 1 Gravekeeper's Shaman, and 1 Gravekeeper's Nobleman. A lot of people don't run Nobleman, but I'll explain that in a second. So first we run Gravekeeper's Heretic. This is used against other back row heavy decks. It's really, really useful. Gravekeeper Heretic wins games sometimes. It's really a powerful card. I really, really like it. So he's very useful. He's an 18 beater. He does not get the bonus of Necro Valley because he states when Necro Valley is on the field, he's unaffected by all cards. That includes Necro Valley, so he doesn't get a boost. But still, that 18 beat stick can get through things, get through back row, things of that. Multiple times, my opponent will just set back row, and I'm just like poke, poke, poke with Heretic for game. Then we run Gravekeeper's Shaman. If you really want to, you can go into a more variation of running Gravekeeper's Visionary instead and making the deck more Gravekeeper Visionary based. Make a big beat stick and beat your opponent down that way. But for more main meta, I like Gravekeeper's Shaman. It's very useful, very powerful. That big butt can save you sometimes with Necro Valley and other Gravekeepers in the graveyard. You can flip it up, get it out with Shaman, flip up Spy, get Shaman out, and lock your opponent out of their graveyard. If their monsters go to the graveyard, they do not get their effects. So it's really, really nice. Gravekeeper's Nobleman. I know people don't like running this card, but I do love running it. Why is that? Because a lot of Gravekeepers are a slow-paced deck. And for that fact of the matter is, sometimes you don't want to get OTK'd out of the wazoo if you're going against a pendulum-based deck or whatever. A very fast-paced deck is what I'm trying to say here. And the nice thing is about Gravekeeper's Nobleman is you can search it out, and if your back's against the wall, you can set the Nobleman. And if they attack it, you get your Gravekeeper's Spy back on the field in face down defense position, and then you can pretty much on your turn you can go on the offensive again because Spy is your power play of the deck. So it's a backup plan B. Sometimes if you don't use it, you can just use Allure of Darkness on it, or sometimes just use it as a pokey stick or popping it or whatever. But I do like it as a 1-up because it does come in handy, and multiple times this card has made a comeback for me. So I'll be down, I think I'm out, I set this card, they attack it, I get the Spy, they can't run over it because of the 25 attack defense Spy has. On my turn, I flip it up, I go off, and I finally put the nail in the coffin for my opponent and win the game. So I do like the 1 Nobleman for that reason. You don't have to run it, but from me personally, I like running it because it comes in handy. Then we run the 3 Necro Valley. You may disagree because the field spell ruling that came out that you can, both players can have, two field spells on the field at the same time, that you don't need to run 3 Necro Valley, but I tell you right now, it's like I said before, it's the sinew that holds the deck together. If Spy is the backbone, this is the sinew. And for that matter, I have many times, still to this day, have sometimes gone through all 3 Necro Valley in a duel. You really need it. And you need to get to this card as soon as you can too when you're dueling. Next up, we have 3 Power Duality. Back in the day, I did run 3 Power of Duality, then I cut Power of Duality down to 2 of, and now it's back to 3 of. So Power of Duality is very useful in this deck. You can search through your deck, thin through your deck, sift through your deck, more or less, I guess you could say, to get the cards you need when you need them. The deck does special summon because Spy is your power play, but on turns that you're not special summoning, or first turn, you can search through your deck to get the things you need to get. So that's why I still like the 3 Power of Duality. So we're running Power Duality at 3 nowadays. Then we run 2 Gravekeeper Stellae. Some people like running Gravekeeper Stellae as a 1 of, 2 of, 3 of. I've even seen before. Personally, I like the card. It's amazing. It's a backup plan. You know, if your Gravekeeper's in the graveyard, bring it back to your hand. Bring your Spy back. Set your power play. Go off. It's really powerful, really good, and I definitely think 2 is the right number for this card. You want to see it mid to late game. You never want to see it early game unless, you know, they destroy your Necro Valley, then you have to waste it maybe, but if you don't have another Commandant or another way to search out Necro Valley. So sometimes you have to waste it early, but usually mid to late game is when you want to see Gravekeeper's Stellae. Then we run our 2 MST for things like Fiendish Chain, whatever is out there nowadays, Mistake, if you're afraid of that. Doesn't matter. So pretty much to deal with back row. Then we run the 1 Book of Moon. I'm hoping, I'm praying that one day Book of Moon will go from 1 to 2. And when that day comes, oh, Gravekeeper Spy, I will love you so much. Flip down your Spy, flip it up again later, reset your Spy. That was so good back in the day when you were able to have 3 Book of Moons and you could do those plays. But nowadays you only can run 1 Book of Moons, sadly, but hopefully one day I will go back to 2 so I can do those fun shenanigans again. But for right now, it's a good versatile card, offensive and defensively, and also it's good for your Gravekeeper Spy. Then we run for your other 1-ofs, 1 Allure of Darkness, 1 Regeki, 1 Royal Tribute. Funny thing is, in the OCG, Royal Tribute's at 3. Why is it still at 1 in the TCG? Hey, Konami, please get on that over here in the TCG. Give me some more Royal Tributes so I can have some fun. I know a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players out there, especially older school Yu-Gi-Oh players, do not like Royal Tribute, but it's fun to play around with. First turn Royal Tribute. But yes, sometimes it can be a dead draw, Royal Tribute. I will be the first to admit it. Late game, mid game, it can sometimes be a dead draw. Regeki, clear your board, attack with your monsters. Clear your opponent's board, excuse me, and then attack with your monsters. And Allure of Darkness is just there for speed. So, yes, that's where we run those cards. Then on to the traps. You run 11 traps. We run 2 Imperial Tombs of the Necro Valley. Some people, I'll personally say, like running this card as a 3 of, some a 2 of, some a 1 of. Each Gravekeeper player I've met usually has a different ratio they prefer, and it's for different reasons. The card is somewhat situational. Some people have compared it to Infernity Barrier, but it's not like Infernity Barrier for one aspect. You can't activate multiple Imperial Tombs per turn, so it's not like Infernity Barrier, but it's a very powerful card. Nonetheless, it's very powerful. It can swing the momentum in a duel, and it's very, very good. So I do like it as a 2 of. 2 of is the perfect number I find for this card. If you want to run it as a 3 of, go ahead and try that out, but I like it as a 2 of. Then we run 2 Rider Spirits. Rider Spirits was one of those cards in this deck that I've always, wanted to make room and put Rider Spirits as a 2 of instead of a 1 of. So I tried something out. I cut Torrential Tribune out of the deck and put Rider Spirits up to 2. So I'm testing it right now to see which one is better. Is, one of these Rider Spirit, would I rather have Rider Spirit or Torrential Tribune in such and such scenario when I'm practicing and dueling? Personally, from playing around right now, the rest of the trap lineup really, makes up for Torrential being not in the deck right now. But the Rider Spirit is very powerful. It leads to more combo plays, reborning recruiters, pop a recruiter with Descendant, then bring it back and pop again, get another search off. The shenanigans are good, and plus it can bring back your dead Gravekeeper monsters, like Shaman and things of that nature. So I do like it as a 2 of. It's kind of like Call of the Haunted, but not. It's kind of like more like Monster Reborn in trap form, I guess you could say. But a very, very good card. So I'm trying it as a 2 of right now, and I really like it. Then we run 2 Fiendish Chains to stop the battle. phase, you know, if your opponent tries to run over your Gravekeeper Spy or whatever, just stop it, stop monster effects, whatever. So 2 Fiendish Chains there. Then we run 2 Mirror Force. You can either run Mirror Force or Deep Prison. For right now, I'm liking Mirror Force, so I'm running 2 Mirror Force for right now. Then I run for your other one-ofs, 1 Compulse, 1 Bottomless, and 1 Solemn Warning. Pretty much standard. Compulse, it's a very versatile card, just like Book of Moon. Bottomless is a good card, and Solemn Warning just says no. So that's what we run there. On to the extra deck, guys, as I go into that. For the extra deck, I really don't go into the extra deck that much as you would think. The main things I go for are Master Key Beetle sometimes, and Castell. Oh, and by the way, some people are probably going to ask me why I don't run Vanity's Emptiness. I have tried it out in the deck before. I will admit that. I'll be the first to admit that. But the thing is, with you constantly popping, you know, recruiters or whatever, gravekeepers, and, you know, constantly cards are being sent to the graveyard. So Vanity's Emptiness is not live for usually more than a turn or so. And it's más o menos. Also, people will ask me probably why I don't run like the Gravekeeper's Shrine. I like the card, but it's situational. It's a situational Vanity's Emptiness somewhat, if you understand what I'm trying to say. It's kind of hard to set up. It's a good card, don't get me wrong, but you need to build a deck more based around that card than just a general Gravekeeper deck, I feel like. It has to be more specifically built, I feel like. Just my opinion. But you can play it in the deck, in this build as well, if you want to take up a couple of cards out. Take a couple of cards out to play Gravekeeper's Shrine. So, first up, we have Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon, a good card for getting around cards. Castell, the Sky Musketeer, this is the second main card I go into the most. 101, Silent Arc Arnor's Knight. Number 103, Ragnar Zero. And Master Key Beetle, which is the main Exceed monster I go into most of the time for setting up locks and whatnot. Then we run 1 Krugonic Luminescent Knight, 1 Exciton Knight, 1 Cowboy, 1 Heartland Drago, cards for game, 1 Gagaga Samurai, sometimes going for game and just for other reasons. Krugonic Luminescent Knight can come in handy sometimes too. That's probably the third one I go into the most. Then we run Abyss Dweller, just some good standard rank 4s here. Black Ship of Corn, number 50 Black Ship of Corn. 1 Wind-Up Zenmeister. This card you can go into sometimes to reflip of your spy down because it's kind of like Book of Moon on wheels. So sometimes you'll make it, very rarely, but sometimes you do. Then we run, finally, another rank 4 combo, I guess you could say. 1 Tellarknight Ptolemaeus and 1 Constellar Pleiades. Very rarely do I go into Constellar Ptolemaeus, but sometimes you do, and sometimes you'll just make Constellar Pleiades out of it. So that's a scenario that sometimes happens. But very rarely does that happen. I will be the first to admit that as well. So guys, this is my Gravekeeper deck profile. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. I hope you love Gravekeepers. GKs for life, Holmes. I love my GKs. I love my GKs, man. I can't say enough about this deck. I love it. So from playing this deck recently, I really found it's very strong. Yes, it's a slower paced deck. It's hard sometimes to keep up with the main meta, fast paced OTK type of decks. But even at the end of the day, I find the deck is very good. I did try Lose One Turn out in the deck. It's a new trap card that came out of Cross Souls. I do own the card, but I played around with it, tried it out, to see how it worked. You can build the deck around that card, and if you're going to do that, you may want to run, a build that involves Gravekeeper's Shrine and some other cards like that. It does work out in the deck. It does slow your opponent's deck down, but sometimes it's harder to spam the field because the deck does special summon, and Gravekeeper's Spy is your power play of the deck, and Lose One Turn slows you down from, popping cards on field, swinging with Descendant to inflict 2,000 damage. That's hard to do with Lose One Turn out in the field if you special summon the Descendant or whatever. Though I will admit it is something I am still testing out. And if you've tried that out before, please let me know how that turned out for you. But I'm not throwing that idea out the window. I'm just saying right now it's still in the beta phases, testing out Lose One Turn and Gravekeepers. But I will say it's a very useful idea if you want to play Gravekeepers that way. So guys, till next time, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling, GKs for life, man. And till next time, everybody, Seto Kaiba, I'm out of here. Till next time, guys. Good luck dueling to all of you, and I hope this deck profile was very informative and you took something away from it. Take care, everybody. Till next time.